People generally trust experts. We trust a mechanic to fix our car. We trust pilots to fly a plane. Scientists are the most trusted source of scientific information. That's why the fake expert strategy is one of the most persuasive forms of misinformation. So how does it work? And how can we avoid being misled? In the 1980s, tobacco companies were desperate to convince us smoking wouldn't kill us. They had a secret weapon, scientists willing to promote smoking. Tobacco executives called them whitecoats. Science historian Naomi Oreskes explains their strategy.
The use of scientists with credentials is absolutely critical to this strategy, because if a tobacco industry executive said, well, I'm not convinced that smoking is really harmful, that wouldn't pass the laugh test. But if a distinguished scientist says it, then it seems like there's a scientific debate. And so a journalist who might not feel compelled to quote a tobacco industry executive will feel compelled to quote a distinguished scientist.
The tobacco strategy was to recruit scientists or doctors who were willing to endorse cigarettes as not harmful. The PR campaign was called the Whitecoat Project. It didn't matter if they didn't have any expertise researching the health impacts of smoking, they just had to look like an expert. Climate deniers took the fake expert strategy and ran with it. They put together a petition of 31,000 science graduates signing a statement that humans weren't disrupting climate. Their goal? Convince people there wasn't a scientific consensus on climate change. But when you look closer at their signatories, 99.9% had no expertise in climate science. They had degrees in computer science, veterinary science, mechanical engineering, but almost no climate scientists. It was fake experts in bulk. They understood that even better than one fake expert was a group of fake experts. Now we see whitecoats being used to cast doubt on the scientific research into COVID-19.
I know people want to talk about masks. Hello? You don't need mask. There is a cure. I know they don't want to open schools. No, you don't need people to be locked down. There is prevention and there is a cure. And let me tell you something. All you fake doctors out there that tell me, oh yeah, I want a double-blinded studies. I just tell you, quit sounding like a computer, double-blinded. I don't know whether your chips are malfunctioning, but I'm a real doctor.
The arguments from these whitecoats are familiar denial techniques, anecdotal arguments, and casting doubt on scientific research. But a whitecoat is persuasive. A group of whitecoats is even more persuasive.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's a sign, maybe it's not, but I can tell you this. She was on air along with many other doctors. They were big fans of hydroxychloroquine, and I thought she was very impressive.
When you look closer at some of these supposed experts, you find that as well as ignoring the scientific research into the dangers of hydroxychloroquine, some held some extreme and non-scientific views.
Most people believe that the spirit husband and the spirit wife, the incubus and succubus, they are the same spirit. They turn into a woman, then they sleep with a man and collect his sperm. Then they turn into a man and then they sleep with another woman and deposit the sperm and reproduce more of themselves. Because of the way they are, angels cannot reproduce. You understand what I'm saying? So they can use human beings to reproduce more Nephilims.
Using fake experts to promote unscientific claims doesn't just happen by accident. Following in the footsteps of the tobacco industry, political operatives plan to recruit pro-Trump doctors to promote reopening the economy.
The president is going to get tagged by the fake news media as being irresponsible and not listening to doctors and being like what they always say he is, right? And so we are going to have to gird his loins with a lot of other people.
There is a coalition of doctors coalitions who are extremely pro-Trump that have been preparing and coming together for the war ahead in the campaign on health care. And these doctors could be activated for this conversation now.
Those are the type of guys that we should want to get out on TV and radio to help push out the message.
Given the damaging impact of fake experts, this raises the question, how do you tell the difference between a real expert and a fake expert? Let's start by looking at what doesn't make an expert. You don't become an expert in one field by having a degree in a different field. We understand this in real life. When it comes to important life events like surgery, we expect the person opening us up to have relevant expertise. But when it comes to a pandemic endangering the health of millions, some people think their expertise in a different field gives them authority to contradict medical experts.
My qualifications in terms of looking at the science is that I'm a social scientist. I have a PhD, and I understand how to read statistical studies, whether it's in medicine, the law, economics, or whatever.
You don't acquire expertise by standing in the vicinity of other experts.
Why is it okay for you to promote the use of this drug when you're not a doctor and health experts are working?
Well, I've worked with doctors.
You don't become an expert because of a smart family member.
And I like this stuff. You know, my uncle was a great person. He was at MIT. He taught at MIT for, I think, like a record number of years. He was a great super genius, Dr. John Trump. I like this stuff. I really get it. People are surprised that I understand it. Every one of these doctors said, how do you know so much about this? Maybe I have a natural ability. Maybe I should have done that instead of running for president.
You're not a scientific expert because you think you have a great brain.
What metrics you will use to make that decision?
The metrics right here. That's my metrics. That's all I can do. Born with a certain intellect. The fact is, you have to be born and blessed with something up here. God helped me by giving me a certain brain. I have like a very, very high aptitude. I mean, like, I'm a smart person. I feel good about it. That's all it is, just a feeling. I'm a smart guy. I feel good about it. You know, I'm proud to have that German blood. There's no question about it. Great stuff.
The only way to obtain expertise in a complex scientific field is through years of study, further years of scientific research, and having your research scrutinized by other experts. Without scientific expertise and familiarity with all the relevant research, it's all too easy to be misled by misinformation. Nowadays, we have more access to information than ever, and it's tempting to think we're capable of weeding out truth from misinformation. But it takes expertise to understand the nuance and uncertainty in a complex topic. And there's an added challenge. When we do our own research, what we're really doing is looking for confirmation that we're right. And that's all too easy to do online. That's why the scientific method is so important. Scientists are trained to minimize their biases. Their results are peer-reviewed by other experts, and other researchers try to replicate their findings. Science isn't 100% foolproof, but thanks to all these spam filters, it's the most reliable source of information there is. So look out for fake experts, one of the most persuasive techniques of science denial. How do you spot one? A red flag is when someone appeals to their own authority while contradicting the consensus of the expert community. That's when you want to look closer, examining whether they have actual relevant scientific expertise. Being able to spot fake experts makes us less vulnerable to misinformation, clearing the way to rely on real experts for reliable information.
The First Amendment should only be for really, really incredibly good-looking, rich, smart people like me, who have a big brain and know how to use it, and who have MIT blood because my uncle, John Trump, who was a professor at MIT, and I have that same MIT blood in my body.